of you here this morning. Thank you for dropping by and staying for a while. Good morning, my dear friends, all of you on. It's a beautiful sunny day in Florida. Congratulations, my dear. It's sunny, but it's minus 13 Celsius. Anyway, so let's get this show on the road, people. Let's do this. It's an amazing topic. I had it, but on Instagram, it slipped by. So without further ado, let's get the show on the road. So good morning and happy Friday. Happy Valentine's Day Eve. We are stepping into the weekend with a spirit of frugal optimism and high vibrations. So today we are finishing the week strong. For aligning our spiritual and financial pillars, we are talking about frugal optimism and the flow of abundance. Now, you hear the word frugal. And you're going to think, Tessa-Marie, frugal. The whole world is frugal right now. Everything is so expensive. But you can make it into something that you use the word frugal. It is frugal. You have to be frugal to survive this time of the year and this time of life where we are. And it's something that we cannot change. But we can change how we do our feeling, optimism, frugal. Yes, but I can still buy bread. This is the attitude. You cannot let everything that is there happening outside of you control how you feel about the things you have to do. So, frugal optimism and the flow of abundance. So, when you look at those things and you put it together, it doesn't match, does it? Because frugal means you're tight, you're not releasing. But you can do that and still be joyful. Still feel good. Still look at, so today all you can buy is hamburger meat. You know what? And a bag of pasta. And a little bit of cheese that is moldy, maybe, in the fridge. And you can take the mold out because number one, it was moldy to come to that point. And there you have a meal. You take a little onion, a garlic, nothing, pepper, whatever. And you have a couple potatoes left in the fridge, you chop it up. I did things like that. We used to have a store in Canada called Nob Hill Farms. I still have the baskets from them. And you would go there and you would see people with families shopping there. Not because maybe it was cheaper than every store. And then when I found out, my husband said to me, because he worked in the grocery stores, he said, you know what? Do you realize that Nob Hill Farm is just taking the excess from all the big stores that they bought too much and they have to make room for the others? He said, nothing is wrong with this food. Nothing is wrong with this frozen food or these fresh vegetables. And it's true, but it was cheaper. So you'd go there on a Saturday morning with your children in tow, and you'd see many families doing the same thing. So, but there was something then that made you realize you just have to do it. It's not that people didn't complain, but again, we didn't have social media to pound it into our heads so that every time we looked at it, man, this is so expensive. The thing we forget, though, is that our salaries are expensive. People make more money now than they made in the 80s, in the 90s, even in the early 2000s. The thing is how we manage wealth, the spiritual source of wealth. How do we manage that? The spiritual pillar, and how to align it with your purpose. The minute you take your spiritual pillar, I'm not talking about a religion, a dogma, a faith, or belief. I'm talking about how you feel spiritually about you and those around you. When you align yourself to being okay, I can do it. Others have done it before me and succeeded. And you avoid casting all your negative energies on others. Then has no disgrace. No, it does not. And the thing is, if it's not good, then talking about it is not going to fix it. If it's good, talking about it makes you feel good. So if you have a situation that you cannot control, what is in the situation that you can fix? Aligning your thoughts. If you woke up this morning and you couldn't find the energy, look at what Amma said. That's her grandmother. That is one generation behind her mom. And she said, my grandma would say, economizing has no disgrace. No. The disgrace is when you jump into a lane of pretending you have and you don't have. That's where the disgrace shows up. But the spiritual pillar, that is how you begin in alignment. That is where you seek it. That's where you go and find my purpose, my why I am here. If you take the time, like yesterday we shift about moving the things, today we're taking that, setting them aside, and there is a vacuum. The vacuum comes along and it clears what is in the way. And the moment it clears in the way, it clears what is in your way, you have the opportunity and the decision to make of what are you going to attract to put in your financial vacuum. Spirituality will teach you to say, I am grateful for what I already have. And yesterday I asked you, when you go on that trip of yours that you save so much for, or you are being able to buy something, do something, is there a pause when it's happening that you just absorb it, take it in and say, I did it. I'm so grateful I did it. If you are able to do that, the journey does not look as harsh as it was, as challenging as it seems. Because you put yourself in the moment of having received what you worked for, and there is no cloud. Do not compare yourself to others and say, so and so, I'm so grateful I have all this because so and so doesn't have it. By the way, it's none of your business what so and so has. Because you do not know the truth. You do not know what is really happening. Once upon a time, this friend of mine called me because the Canadian dollar had dropped. And she said, I was at the bank and I noticed the Canadian dollar drop. And I'm wondering how people that have only one pension and they have a home in the Caribbean and a home out there, how are they doing? And I said, it's none of your business. I said, you don't know how they invested their money. I said, why are you comparing? No, we don't have, I said, I don't care what you have. That's not your responsibility. Get off this person's lane. There is somebody that she knew. That's why she brought it up. She didn't tell me the name. And maybe I wouldn't know that person. Is that what you're spending your day wondering about, how others get to where they desire to be, how they have, what they'll play, what they're going to do? In the meantime, your life is slipping by. So spiritual people that tell me they're in church and they're holy and they read the Bible and they know every chapter, every book of the Bible from Exodus all the way to Revelations. And they can quote it. And yet, they're busy comparing themselves to others when they know that is not something you're supposed to do. So your alignment, when you align yourself with your dream goals and desires, you have more room for you to be able to see and create a vacuum and bring in and attract financial opportunities, especially when we have this frugal life that we're attending to and entering into now. So we have to realize, how do we align our purpose? How do we align with that purpose that we have? You have a dream. You have a goal. You have a desire. Amma made a statement. My grandmother would also say, cut your coat according to your cloth. That is old and that is deep. I've heard it already. Why are you trying to put a big coat all over you when all you have is this much to make a poncho? Just tell me. That is what it is. Do not go overspending and turning back and blaming the government because everything is bad. Look at your habits. How do you align with your purpose? By looking at your habits. What it is you're doing right now. What are the things you're doing? Are they aligned with your purpose? Or are they old habits that you have had that you cannot even change? Some people cannot even change their way of of worshiping or praying. You don't have to go away from your religion, but you have to, how am I doing? I'm gossiping at others. Change that. Start there. Start with that thought this morning that told you everything in the world was falling apart. And some people are poor and you're so grateful you can fly here and go there and do this. No. If you meet someone who is unable to be able, or you see the way they're headed, excuse me, chances are they will not be able to reach that point in their life that they are seeking. And you find a way not to tell them what to do, but open the book and show them the vision. That is challenging to do. But that, though, is the way to share. You open the book and you allow them to read it with you. And you have to compare. You have to let them know, hey, I was there. And this is what I did. Don't just stand up and pontificate that you are there now and you are successful. That person can see you are. They understand that you are. You are in a better position at work than they are. And then you see them faltering or feeling bad about where they are. You can say, you know what, hold on. Hold on. It is always darkest before dawn. I see you're being challenged and you're feeling it and it is awful. But I am here to say to you, I was in the same state you were. And this is what I did. That doesn't mean they're going to take your advice. That doesn't mean they will do what you just said for them to do. That doesn't mean any of that. But at least you have opened the door. And all you say is, you know what? I know some things that I can allow you to teach you and you can learn. Or you can, this is the 5 things I did to find myself where I am today. And list them. Because it's important to understand. I can tell you there are 5 things that, yes, there are 5 things I did in the days of $1.75 only to save. But I made that decision I needed to save money. Decision number 1. Decision number 2, where is it coming from? The income can barely find its way into the expenses without squeezing and shaving and sanding and oiling. So it's like fitting a square peg in a round hole. But I sat there with pen and paper and I multiplied, I divided, I did percentages. It wasn't a lot of money, people. $263 gross pay. And you got maybe $242 in your hand. But all of that had to pay for so many different things. So first decision, I must save money. Where am I finding it from? These were the choices I had at the time. These were the choices I had to make. And then, what am I going to do to enable me to increase it? Question. Nobody is there to answer it. I am on my own with it. My husband wasn't a financial person, but I had a need to have financial stability. And once I sowed this seed in his mind, he was on board. It wasn't harsh, because men sometimes don't like to be told what they should do and how they should do it. And you cannot change that. That is why they are X chromosomes and they're not a Y. They have no Y chromosome. Look at the X. The X is stiff. Can you make an X when you're writing and make it curly and whiny? But look at the Y. We curl and we twist and we change and we have children and we work and we multitask and we do what we have to do. You put that on a platter and give that to your husband. He's going to ask you, what is wrong with you? I cannot do that. You expect me to find a way to twist and turn like you do? Leave them alone. They come from Mars. The word doesn't even have a nice song. But think of Venus. We can do it. So find out in your group, in your relationship, who is better able to manage the finances, and sit at their elbow so that you can learn. I had a conversation with Yuko yesterday, and Yuko said something to me. When she found out I was the one that did all of the everything to do with money, it was me. Buying homes, selling homes, buying this, doing this, it was me. So she said, what would have happened to my husband if I had passed before him? I said, I put things in place to manage that. So you have to, because the person doesn't care, you still have to care to put things in place to manage that situation. So these are the things we have to know. So as I said, I needed to save money. Didn't have a lot. Where is it coming from? Pen and paper, adding and subtracting, making sure I wasn't spending too much. And every 5 cents, every 2 cents that I could cut off something added to $1.75. Now, where am I saving this? I worked for the government at the time, so I went to the credit union. And the lady was very happy to help me save $1.75 every week. It was amazing. It took a whole lunch hour for her to fill out those forms because there were no computers. But I had a plan. I needed to have flow, cash flow later in my life. I had to start. I had to turn the engine on. If I do not turn the engine on and the light comes on, I cannot see the first 100 yards ahead of me. I need to turn the car on. So that I did. And then I decided I have to be vigilant on the shopping. I could sew. I still have that book. I can bring it one day to show you. A covered exercise book, hardcover. That's what the nuns made us do. And in that book, you had everything. How to sew, how to do laundry, how to do this, how to do that. The signs and symptoms of pregnancy, da-da-da. All that handwritten. The pages are cracking now because I was 16. And then I went back to that recipes. Pastry. It was called pastry without tears. That's what they called it. And it was the best pastry to make, the best way to make it. They gave it to us. That means in those old days, guys, when a woman couldn't make pastry, she cried. But the nuns gave us, so I figured out I can get the same meat you have, the same ground beef. Make the pastry. All you need is flour or lard and butter, rolling pin or a bottle full of water. Kept in the fridge and it's cold, and make the dough. Put the meat in there, some peas, some carrots. Voila, shepherd pie. Put a little gravy, make a little gravy. So this is what I'm saying. 5 things. I cooked from home. I learned to freeze to make jams and jellies and soups. And I learned to make bread. Although my parents own a bakery, I had no idea how that was done because there were people working there. But I learned to bake my own bread. Everything I had to do from scratch to get there. And then the last thing is to consistently fertilize your finances by adding a little bit every year. Every time you get a raise, do not look at it and say, oh my goodness, it's just a 2% raise. By the time they take the taxes, all I got was $3. If you leave that $3 in the checking account, our pay account is like a sieve. It just flows through. It has no bottom. It just disappears. So if you have money and you leave it extra money in that checking account, the swiping and the pointing and the clicking and the dollar store is hungry and they're waiting for it. So you got a 2% raise. And at the end of all the deductions, you have $6. I am telling you, run like wild dogs are after you to your computer and add that $6 to your savings and watch it grow every time. Fund money. You paid taxes, now you have a refund. You are taking it to pay debt. But think about it. You already have a way to pay the debt, but the reason why you're in debt is because you have no savings. You have a lack of cash flow. To fix that, you have to build cash flow. You have to build a savings. That is a habit. I have to work on that for you guys because this is taxation time to let you know how important it is for you not to always take your tax refund and pay off your credit card year after year after year. How has that been working for you? Using your tax refund and paying credit cards every year, how has that been working for you? Do you still do it? Have you ever caught up? But I have a way to do this, and I will teach it in the coming weeks. What you must do. So why are you here now on this planet? What is your purpose? Why are you here? Why your purpose is your why. What it is you're here for. What are you going to do with this life you have? It's never too old to ask yourself that question. And you're never too young to ask yourself that question. Why am I here? What is my purpose? What am I going to do? Why are you here now on the planet? Why? Why? What is the thing that when you do it, it gives you a feeling that you love? What is it? You see, when I do this morning blessing, when I teach you, when I give you one little tip, I give you 5. I feel good. I feel empty. I have given it away. I love that feeling. But you know what I found out? A new idea pops in. Just like that. When you know your why, you find your purpose. So find out what it is. We need to have a purposeful life. Your purpose, your reason. A life without a purpose is like a leaf in autumn. The north wind blows it out of the branch of the tree, and the east wind picks it up, and each wind has control of that poor leaf. So if you have no reason, no purpose, you are like a leaf on an autumn day. The leaf is being tossed helter-skelter and is unable to choose a path. If you're here, you're there, you're everywhere, but who are you and what is your purpose? What do you want to do? What is your desire? Where have you set your sail to go? You know, the thing about it is that if you do not know, I'll say it because it's a quote from Seneca. Seneca said, if you do not know what harbor you seek, any wind is a good wind. W-I-N-D, not W-I-N. So, if you do not know where to set your sail to go, and you just stand there, you will go. The young man that he didn't rob the bank, but he was at home. And when we got to court, he said, I was to the judge, and he's pleading and crying and sobbing. I was at home watching TV, and my friend called and said, what are you doing? Oh, he said nothing. He said, come with me, I'm going to have something to do down the road. He got outside of a bank, not realizing the intention of his friend. He said, you sit in the driver's seat. I'm going in here, and I'll be out in a second. His friend robbed the bank, and he was the getaway driver. That changed the trajectory of his life. Because you see, he had no plans. Any wind is a good wind. You have to look at it and see that whose wind are you in right now? Who wind is pushing you north, south, east, and west? When are you going to stop in the middle of this time moment and say to yourself, I need to choose the trajectory of my life? You see, the thing is, when I decided to be a certified financial planner, I made a plan. The plan was a SMART plan. You know that SMART plan they tell us to make? I don't know if you guys still get to do that, but a few of us still do. S stands for specific. That was my thing. I desired to be a personal financial planner. My why? They make a lot of money and they get bonuses. So I wanted that. M, is it measurable? Can I be that? What did I need to do to accomplish that goal? Number 1, register to do that course. Number 2, apply myself. That was measurable. I could take those steps. A, is it attainable? Of course it is. It is. Step 1, begin to study and study daily. And when I will say to you right now, I studied an hour a day for 2 years, you are going to tell me that's a lie. But honey, it's not a lie. I made sure I studied 1 hour today. That meant I got home by 6 o'clock. I had a pot, a white teapot with tea, a little tray with cheese and crackers, cheese and raisins and almond. The book was in the office over there. And I came down the steps and I headed there for an hour. And when the hour was done, I put one stroke, another stroke every day. And if it is Valentine's Day or Christmas or New Year's or whatever, and I am unable to study for an hour that day, next time I study, it's the following day, I add 15 minutes until I make up that hour that I lost. So yes, I studied for 365 hours a year. Realistic? Of course it was. The financial institution that employed me will pay for the course. And the thing is, they paid for it. They paid to frame the diploma. It's over there. And then they gave me more money. All I had to do was put in 365 hours a year. And I did that. Realistically, it was the best thing for me. Timely, 2 years. I need to devote 1 hour a day for 2 years. That I can do. And here I am today. That is what brought me into the public. Helping others succeed. And that is what you have to do. You have to know frugal abundance is taking the opportunity where you can get it. You see, financial prosperity and being frugal and spiritual prosperity go hand in hand. Do not let your spiritual belief that money, or when they push and pound in your head, is evil and it's the root. Money is not the root of evil. It is the fruit of your labor. It's good. And the more of it you have that you can give yourself. My friend is left Wisconsin and went to Florida for a month. That is not because she has no money. It's because she planned it. She worked. She had this. She did a 401k or she did whatever. But the point is, she had the financial means to do that. So money is not evil. And no rich man is no camel is passing through a needle, and no rich man is going through any needle either. But then, the same pastor that tells you all of that tells you he wants to have his own plane. Come on, people, listen. Read between the lines and do the best for yourself. Claim your abundance. I am open to receive. Write that in the comments. Claim your abundance. One of you, there are 2 of you, 3 of you. Write that. Are you willing to receive? Are you ready to claim abundance in your life? Write it down. You do not have to know the how of where that abundance is coming from. You do not have to know that at all. Your only responsibility is to know, I am claiming abundance. Abundance is running wild. Abundance needs a home. Abundance does not have an address. It's up to each and one of us to capture abundance and give it a home and give it an address. Are you with me on that? Because this is Friday before Valentine's Day. Enjoy it. Do not put yourself in debt to enjoy it. Debt. Do not do that. But claim the abundance. Write it, say it, while you're walking, while you're feeling that there is not enough, you won't be able to make it. Oh my goodness, I don't know if I can pay the rent and I cannot do this. Instead of all of that, say, I am open to receive abundance. Claim it.